Life is so hard, and it's like usually people on the outside shame, blame, point the finger. Like, they're not therapists, they're not life coaches, but it's almost like you receive what they say like they are. And so we allow their influence to skew us from actually people that could help us.
A quote from Joyce Myers. She said, just because you bury something alive, don't make it dead. So if you don't deal with that emotion, it's going to come back like a zombie. And we've all seen zombie movies and series. They're harder to kill, right? And so it's okay to hit pause and put it on the shelf to handle what's before you, but you're going to have to handle that emotion.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I am your host, Coach Seth, and I have a special guest in studio here today. But before we dive in, if you just tuned in and you just came in for the first time, thanks for listening. If you're like a veteran listener, you've been listening for a while, you probably know this. The new people don't, but you can listen to this show anywhere podcasts are streamed. You can also, if you're like me, I like to see stuff. I'm a big YouTube person. I want to see what I'm listening to. So you can go to YouTube at the 5-Star Life. You see all of our archive shows there. We also have a new program partner channel. It's called Your Home TV. Go to yourhometv.com. Again, all the archives are there. You can hit subscribe. If you are there, you understand. Literally, it will send you an email every week so you don't miss a show. So I encourage you to do that. But if you're also like totally brand new, you need to go to our website, 5starlife.org, and learn more about the mission. We are on a mission. Got it right here. Like transforming like the way students think, act, and lead, really by helping them develop the skills, like the academic skills, the employability skills, the relational skills, and the mental skills they need to thrive. So super simple stuff, but really powerful stuff. And we're working with thousands and thousands of kids. And so we invite you to be a part of the mission. We're a nonprofit organization, but we're working with schools all over Michiana and beyond. And so we've got a special guest I want to introduce, Cherri Kulp, who just actually, did you reveal the new brand yet? Is that out yet? Not quite yet?
Not quite yet, but it's public, so people can check out the website.
So Unearth Coaching is what I'll stick with for right. All right. That was the original
first name, but now it's Internal Garden Coaching and Leadership Solutions.
So Internal Garden Coaching and Solutions.
Yes.
Which I love that.
Thank you.
Because we teach this in 5-Star all the time, and most people get it wrong. People are trying so hard to change, to grow, to make money, to make relationships work, and they're trying so hard, and they don't realize that they're working against themselves because they haven't worked on the internal stuff. Like their subconscious is running the show, and they're like, why is this so hard? Why do I keep reverting? So Cherri, right out at the beginning, I want to, like, how can people, because they're going to like what we talk about here, they're going to really enjoy you. I know we have guests, and we have all kinds of people that tell me like, man, I love listening to Cherri. I love what she has to share. How can people get a hold of you?
You can check out my website at internalgardencoaching.com.
All right. Awesome. I encourage you to do that. Why is it you think that certain people are proactive and would reach out to you? And what holds other people, maybe people that need it the most, from like having some excuse to like getting coaching or getting help? I hear some people say, well, I don't need that. It's too expensive, or it's too this or that. What do you say to that?
Wow. So there's a lot there. There's so many reasons why people choose to stay in the place that they are in. One of the reasons is fear. The fear of the unknown, but also the fear of what is going to happen on the journey. A lot of things are uncovered in these conversations. And as a coach, I serve as a partner in uncovering those things. And so they're not alone on this journey. The other reason is some people do not believe they're worth the investment. But you're going to pay either way. You can either pay financially, whether invest in yourself, or pay in keeping the mindset that no longer serves you or never served you. So there's a few other reasons, but those are the two that come to my mind right now.
Those are good. And I think, just from working with kids and adults and parents with our LIFT program, we have so many parents we work with. But, unfortunately, in this experience called life on planet Earth, there aren't many environments you're in that people coach you or discipline or come alongside of you well. Life is so hard, and it's like usually people on the outside shame, blame, point the finger, like they're not therapists, they're not life coaches, but it's almost like you receive what they say like they are. And so we allow their influence to skew us from actually people that could help us. So we're like, well, I don't need more of that, right?
Yeah.
And so we kind of maybe think about somebody like you and think, well, I don't know if I'd feel safe, And I think if people can understand, like, well, maybe that's one of the things holding you back is you've never been in an environment where somebody could come alongside and be a true partner. Like a true partner is like invested.
Yes.
Like you win when they win. That's what a partnership is. It's a win-win. It's not I'm condescending, I'm better than you, I'm shaming, blaming, and I'm trying to use some manipulative tactic to move you down for some weird agenda, which, anyways, so many parents, you can hear that and feel that when they walk in, but just letting them talk and just listening and then asking some questions and holding up a mirror.
Yes.
It's amazing how powerful people are.
Oh, it is. And you said something that was so profound. Safety. A lot of individuals do not know how to make others feel safe. And we've talked about this in other episodes on the nervous system, reading the room before we even understand what's happening. And creating a space, a psychologically safe space, is so important. And it's an art and a science. And a lot of people don't know how to do that well. So that is what creates that friction, that tension between both parties and getting movement, some traction towards the other side. So it's so important for people in the room to know how to create a safe space for people. But in order to do that as a coach, I have to make sure that I got it together, that I'm not bleeding, because I heard blood is hard to get out of clothing. So it's also hard to get out of others too, right? And so it's going to be very important as a coach that I continue to make sure that I check myself before I enter into the conversation so people can feel open and safe enough, because we are wired to feel safe. And when one feels safe, they can be open, they can connect, they can engage in a space that they have avoided for so long, right? But it is an art and a science in creating a safe space.
Well, and I encourage people who are out there, like you're struggling, maybe you've been held back by your own habits, your own choices, and you're tripping over yourself, and you're just frustrated, and you've lived this way for a long time, and you've given up on yourself. I really encourage you to book one session, just one. Like, just book one session. And we talked, I think probably a year ago, we talked about the polyvagal theory.
Yes.
In Dr. Stephen Porges' work. But he invented the term neuroception.
Yes.
Which is incredible. And here's what I'm going to guarantee. If you meet with Cherri, what's going to happen is you're going to come in with anxiety and stress or whatever you're living in, and just by being in her presence, your nervous system is going to go, because co-regulation is one of the most powerful things for our nervous system.
It is.
And as we talk to parents, that's one of the key things we talk to parents about, like your superpower in connecting with your kids, in parenting your kids, in disciplining your kids, and being there for your kids, is this space on that polyvagal ladder where when you're clear and when you're up here, that's where your parenting genius lives.
Absolutely.
And that's where your kids, just by being in your presence, your nervous system regulates theirs just because you choose not to drop down to theirs, right? Absolutely. Like if we, as parents, and then leaders, if we just do that, it's amazing the impact that would have on the people that report to us, on our kids, on our spouses, on all that.
Yes.
It's powerful stuff.
Emotional contagion is real. There's so much research out there about it, how when you enter a room and your emotions are high, how it just ripples throughout the entire room, right? And so it's so important to really understand what emotion is present. What do I do with this emotion? Does it belong here? Do I need to deal with it right now, or do I need to put it on the shelf and deal with it later? Because it has to be dealt with. And it reminds me of a quote from Joyce Myers. She said, just because you bury something alive, don't make it dead. So if you don't deal with that emotion, it's going to come back like a zombie. And we've all seen zombie movies and series. They're harder to kill, right? And so it's okay to hit pause and put it on the shelf to handle what's before you, but you're going to have to handle that emotion. And when you enter into a space as a leader, as a parent, and you're already regulated, it is going to permeate throughout the entire environment. You are setting the dial on the thermostat, and that is a superpower.
It is. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so one of the things we do on this show when we bring you on is you always bring a great perspective. You're married. You have kids. You have this world, and connecting all this stuff for parents. I've gotten great feedback. Like, man, that was so helpful. The way she talks about this, and then also you have some really unique, I would say, countercultural views, because it's almost like you have to be this raging feminine to be feminist to be a strong woman, or the opposite. There's one or the other. Be a raging feminist, or you're just this weak woman, right? And so you have a different perspective. I think it's very balanced, and I love when you bring that to perspective, because I think there's a lot of women I know that actually probably are more there, but they're not highlighted in our culture for whatever reason that is.
I appreciate that. It's something that I have to work towards. And as you know, I love reading. So I am reading, I feel like 10 books at once right now, but they're all in the same theme, right? And the book that I'm reading talks about the power of embracing your feminine energy. It's not saying that masculine energy as a woman, embodying that is wrong. However, if it's too much, it can cause tension and conflict, right? And the author talks about how in her environment, that was the culture. Her father was this competitive, strong, forward man, and her mother was celebrated her being a tomboy. So there was no space, no example of what walking and embodying a feminine energy looks like. So she grew up mimicking those things, and it served her well for a moment. But then she realized that hard, tough exterior, that armor, got in the way of her really moving in spaces that she wanted to move into, got in the way of her building those relationships and questioning, why don't certain people like me, right? Mm-hmm. And when I was reading and thumbing through the pages, I was like, wow, I saw a few of my, a few examples that I lived in, right? And the reason I led in this masculine energy was because a lot of the roles that I was in my professional career were male dominated. And so I felt like I have to be this masculine person, but also my environment to survive as a child, I had to take the lead. And that looked like really leaning heavily into that masculine energy where there was no room for nurturing. There was no room for, being soft. And so I'm grateful that I have an environment, a husband who allows me to be soft. It's beautiful. And also it's celebrated. And before, you and I got on today, we were talking about, I think it's in 1 Timothy, where Paul talks about the role of older women and how they should teach, coach, if you will, and guide younger women on how to be women. And I, think that's so powerful. There is strength in being feminine.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way women were created to be. And I think I want to say this a little better than I did in my opener, because I think this idea of being feminine, there's such strength and such power in it. And I think the current culture, it's like the pendulum swings so far where it's like all of a sudden the feminine, like being feminine now is being masculine. It's so interesting, from the outside looking in. And I think there's something so much better and richer in the way we can look at this. Okay, we got to take a quick break. We'll come back right after this. The 5-Star Life Parent app. Each lesson includes a short video and simple discussion prompts designed to help families reconnect and start talking again. Because when parents lead the conversation, kids grow stronger. Download the 5-Star Life Parent app today and start your first family conversation this week, transforming kids' lives by challenging the way they think, act, and lead. Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth, and I'm joined in studio having a fun conversation with Cherri Kulp, and she is just such a strong leader and is an incredible coach. And ultimately, she does consulting, she does coaching for businesses, for individuals, and she is a happily married woman. She has a great perspective on life, and she is a ball of positive energy. So if you're around her, you just cherish the moments to be around her. So it doesn't matter if it's at an event I see her at, I'm just like, oh, there's Cherri. It's like this awesome, some people, you know what I'm talking about? Like some people just carry this presence, and you're one of them. So it's definitely, you can tell you've done the work, and like who you are is more important than what you do. Like I can tell you live out of a core that's at peace. And I think that's one of the keys to like enjoying your life and living a great life and a 5-star life.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your kind words. A lot of that is to, giving God the glory. I have spent a lot of time in his presence. And that's why I produce the fruit that I do. So I can't take any credit for that. So I'm just grateful for the joy. And as you were sharing your kind words, I was thinking about when Jesus said, "Choose ye this day." Every day is a choice. And I choose joy in spite of the chaos. And another book that I'm reading, it's Your Brain is Always Listening. We talked a little bit about this online.
Can we come to that back to that? Because you said something I want to pause.
Oh, please. Yeah, we
can. Am I going to shake you? Don't forget this.
No. I won't. Okay. I won't forget this.
Well, it's because you're talking about fruit.
Yes.
And you're talking about spending time in the presence of God. And ultimately, out of that overflow, you're grounded in that. And so an apple tree doesn't have to try and strain to produce apples. It just produces apples because it's healthy. And because you've done the work to be healthy internally, you're producing fruit. There's so many people. I'm just curious how you'd answer this. Why do so many people go through life focused on doing rather than being? There's not a big emphasis. Like more people are like, hey, so what do you do for a living? Like nobody asks the question like, so who do you want to be? Like talk about you. It's interesting. We talk about, well, I'm this. I'm here. And we talk about our titles. It's like that tells me what you do, but who are you? What do you say to that?
There is definitely a difference between doing and being. And I think one of the reasons why people are focused on the doing is survival. That's one reason. Another is that their identity is attached to their actions. And those are two things that come to my mind when thinking about doing. Being is more so the embodiment of your beliefs, of your knowing. And when I came out of the doing, the survival, and started choosing the being, that shift took place. And I mentioned this quote several times on this show, and I'm going to mention it again here. It's by Dr. Wayne Dwyer. He says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Once I started reframing, that's when I started leaning into the being piece. And that gave way for possibilities. So when I see something that's challenging, I don't see it in a way of it's breaking me. I see it as a way it is stretching me. God is a clay maker. And I am being molded in the way that God wants me to be, not do.
Yeah. And I think there's so many people that are striving and trying so hard. And I've just watched from my own life when I step back and I'm grounded, and the more I've focused on who I am rather than what I do, it's amazing how what I do gets clear, gets simple, and it's like the most genius stuff comes out of when I'm grounded, right?
Yes.
So it's like, it's totally shifted. It's been like this whole paradigm shift for me years and years ago of like, man, I'm just going to focus on who I am.
Yes.
I'm going to focus on who I am, because who I am is everywhere I go.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you focus on who you are and not what you do, when that doing no longer is available, you're not broken. Because I've seen individuals who've lost their job or lost whatever title that they hold dear, and they crumbled.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're focused and rooted in who you are being, you're not shaken by those things.
Yeah. And I'm grateful I learned that early. Like I learned that when I was 18 or 19, somewhere in there. Like when basketball was coming to an end for me, it was like my identity was wrapped up in basketball. And I was like, oh, okay, who am I now? You know? And so, and there's a lot of people that go through that. And then they often can just latch onto, well, I'm gonna do this. Now this is my new identity, instead of like, no, who are you really? Anyways, okay, I interrupted you. You're going to this book you're reading.
Yes. So I am reading this and several other books, as you know, called Your Brain is Always Listening. And the point I wanted to make earlier was that our brain is so powerful where it will believe a lie. And in this book, he talks about dragons, and there's different types of dragons that come from our past. And that's based off of the environments that we were raised in. So if we were neglected, there's a certain dragon attached to that. Or if we were told we're not enough, another dragon comes out of that. And how that shapes how we interact with ourselves, but also with those around us. But also, he talks a little bit about how it shapes the brain. And it's very fascinating. And I'm not finished with the book, but what I have discovered so far is just resounding in what people need to do differently. He also talks about ants, and I was talking to Abby before I got in here about ants, about how they're automatic negative thinking, and how that feeds the dragon, and what we need to do differently, and how do we need to reframe things so that way we can tame, if not eliminate, the dragon altogether. And coupled with this book, I'm reading a book on reframing, because as a sociologist, I was trained in the discipline. In undergrad, we always had to have 3 or more sources to confirm if something is a valid point. And in this book I'm reading on reframing, there are 3 things that are needed for the brain to shift in its thinking. And those 3 things are focus, repetition, and emotion. Emotions are very powerful. Very, very powerful. I'm not saying that you can't get to a shift, meaning the rewiring the neuroplasticity in the brain without emotion, but it happens faster. And going back to the comment of saying that we can believe a lie, just think about the movies we watch, the actors who do such a great job. That's not them. That's not their character in life. That's the character they're playing, but yet it still emotes things in us. And it shifts our perspective on life. And so it's like, what other things are we taking in that we need to reframe to be better individuals?
Yeah. And I think that's where I think some people are like, when they maybe they've tried some of these things before. They've tried to reframe. They've tried to change their thinking. They've tried to get rid of the automatic negative thoughts. But then after, a week or a month, it's not working. And they're like, what's wrong? And I think it's because they don't have one of those 3 in there. And usually it's the emotion. So like, because the back in the 80s is like the power of positive thinking, right? The power, and it's like, I mean, can that help? Yes. That's a long game. It's a difficult game because it's not just about positive thinking. Like beliefs are formed when there's emotion tied to it, right? So when you use your imagination to imagine what it would be like to become this person or to accomplish this, or I'm imagining, even though I have an anger problem or a manipulation problem or whatever the problem is, I want to be free from this. I want to come up a little higher because I want to be a better spouse, or I want to be a better employer, a better leader. Like that imagination is so powerful to first imagine yourself there. And then you don't have to believe it yet. You can just imagine it.
Yeah.
Just what would it feel like
to
have overcome that? What would it feel like to be totally confident, totally at ease, totally at rest, not worried, unbothered? Let that emotion wrap. Well, all of a sudden, that simple practice, that thought and that emotion starts to form a belief just because you're using your imagination. It's so simple, but it's profound.
And it takes discipline.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting, and you mentioned positive thinking, this is not positive thinking. This is not silver lining. It's about changing how you're looking at this thing, right? And again, forming that emotion is so important because that is going to fuel you to keep going. And I think about the other thing that he talks about in this book, which is post-traumatic growth. And it talks about how when people go through something traumatic, how they take that and they take that experience and fuel it to do good, right? It's different than resilience. It's taking this thing that was hurtful, but make it in a way that empowers and emboldens others in a positive way. Resilience is going back to your homeostasis, you're back to square one kind of thing. But when that emotion from growing through that experience moves you in a direction to help others, it's a game changer.
I've never heard that term.
Yes.
Post-traumatic growth. I like that.
Post-traumatic growth. Yeah. It's been a while for some time, but again, it's not the same as resilience. Resilience is different. You're able to grow through the thing, but go back to, okay, normal. But this is where you're taking that thing, that drive from something negative and that emotion that it created in you to fuel it to do something to empower and help others.
So there's post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yes, there is.
And then there's post-traumatic growth syndrome.
I don't think they call it syndrome, but they call it growth.
That.
Yeah, you added that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I added that. Because you think about it, it's like, which do I want?
Choose ye this day.
Do I want to be traumatized by my past, or do I want to grow from my past and be strengthened?
And I will say that post-traumatic stress is not that person's fault. So I don't want people to feel like if they're dealing with that, that they're choosing to be in that. Different people function differently in different environments. People can get into the other side through support and other resources. But it's okay if someone is struggling or growing through post-traumatic stress. I understand that fully, because that was something that I was dealing with because of the trauma that I had experienced. But it's exciting to know that the brain can grow through the work that we do or the work that we couple with others to do, right?
Yeah. Your brain can change. And again, I think that the polyvagal theory and those that created it, I love the framework because it takes away the shame.
Yes.
Like you're talking about PTSD. Like there's no shame in what you're feeling. There's no shame in the cycle you're in.
No.
But it's so important for us to inject truth that you're in a cycle, you're in a state of being, but there are other states of beings. There are other cycles, and you have the power, right? With the right tools, with the right support, you can change that. That's exciting.
It's very exciting. And I encourage those who are working to pivot in a different direction to be kind to yourself during that process.
That's right.
Don't seek perfection, seek growth. Even if it's baby steps, celebrate those baby steps. Just like a big screen TV, it's operated by little pixels. That one little pixel that is off, we can notice it. Little pixels are important too.
Yeah. Praise progress, not perfection.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break. Go check us out online. At the break, we'll be right back after this. At 5 Star Life, we talk a lot about the right tools. See, the hammer is the courage to be the best person you can be. The chisel is the respect you give and the respect you earn. The level, that's the integrity that keeps you balanced in a world that's always shifting. And the saw represents responsibility. It is what separates you from harmful actions and experience. It's the sacrifice it takes to work hard and be your best. Tools, when they're all used together, things are built. There's progress, but where there are no tools, there can be no progress. We give these important tools to kids every single day, and we couldn't do it without our partners like Global Link Distribution. Global Link supports this mission so that these values, courage, respect, integrity, responsibility, and sacrifice become the tools these amazing young people use to become great. Global Link Distribution is a leader and supplier to the RV, manufactured housing, cabinet shop, cargo, and horse trailer industries, but they're also a proud sponsor of this program to help 5 Star Life students thrive. It is our turn to see to it that our children have the tools that build greatness. Volunteer or donate today at 5starlife.org. Welcome back to the 5 Star Life Show. I'm your host, Coach Seth. I'm joined with Cherri Kulp. We're having a great conversation about really everything that would have to do with your mindset, would have to do with your nervous system, would have to do with leading, would have to do with just living what we call a 5 Star life. And And it's hard to live a 5-star life, Cherri, when you are miserable, when you're anxious, when you feel like you're less than, when you have things that you're discouraged about in your own life that you're just like, why am I still doing this? Why do I still have these habits? Why do I still snap at my kids? Why do I, and I think that's a hard thing to grasp. You were just saying before the break, for people that were listening, it was so good. But you just said, be gracious to yourself. And I would say I'd partner that, be gracious to yourself with, do whatever you can do to get the support you need to overcome and to keep growing. Like, I think, you mentioned a couple scriptures, but there's a scripture that says, we go from glory to glory. And I think like the whole goal is not like, it's not necessarily like I'm trying to be perfect, because there's a lot of anxiety in trying to be perfect. Like, I'm just trying to step into who I was created to be, right? There's freedom in that.
That part.
But when I recognize an automatic negative thought or an automatic negative habit or a trait it's there, like, I can get down on myself and shame and blame and just wallow and stay there and feel bad, or I can attack it. And that's why I'm encouraging our listening audience, get with Cherri. All the information is in our link. Surround yourself with people that are there to help you move upward and then go on to slay the next dragon.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be another one. I hope that doesn't discourage everybody, but there's always something.
Life
we have layers.
Yeah. Life is going to life. And I want to dive in further in your comment when you said attack the ant. Whenever an ant comes up, I become curious. And I ask myself, what is this ant's genesis? I go back to my Garden of Eden. Where did this come from? Why is it here? What am I seeing that I'm not recognizing? Because it's so interesting that we operate a lot out of autopilot. And so we may be fed a trigger we have no idea is in our face.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there's power in the pause. So when that ant comes up, ask yourself, what are you telling me? Where did this come from? Is this a truth or is this a lie? And I think I shared this before, how my brother used to always say, because I used to have a temper problem about 10, 15 years ago, because I was bleeding. And there were certain things that I would do to, how do I say, exhibit that anger. And there were certain things that I didn't do. And we started talking about that. And he was like, that served you then. Meaning I was protecting myself from that threat.
Defense mechanism.
Right. But it doesn't serve you now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked myself the question whenever the ant pops up, does this serve you now? And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine today, and as you mentioned, defense mechanism, I was talking about I have a crazy sense of humor. Off the microphone, I'm hilarious.
Very, very much so.
I'm hilarious. Mm-hmm. There's so much material out here. How can you not be, right? And I notice in myself whenever I become more funny than usual, I'm like, ooh, what stressor is around?
Interesting. Okay, so that's a form of, it can be. Not always, but it can be.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be.
Mm-hmm.
But I know me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you cracking up too hard and too long about this thing right here. Is it even that funny?
Man, I have to look in the mirror. I don't know. Because I'm just thinking about myself, because I get rolling too with like friends and family, and I just can go crazy.
But I'm more so like talking about taking a situation that one would be like, oh man, that's messed up, and I'm turning it into a joke.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about in particular. For example, my brother and I, we are hilarious, okay? I'm like, oh, that's why drama. Mm-hmm. And so we talk about the time where we were without food and all we had was eggplant in the refrigerator, mustard, and some vinegar. and I attempted to make a eggplant pie. I'm 9, right? And we still laugh about this to this day. It's like, that eggplant was nasty, you know? So
was it more mustardy or more
it had a little
vinegarish?
It was
okay.
it wasn't great pecan, so we didn't have the good stuff. But we talk about how that actually saved us from turning into a space of depression.
Absolutely.
And so that's why whenever
Yeah.
I'm like become more funny than usual,
Right.
I'm like, okay, Cherri, what's really going on outside of this? And then I start, again, being curious.
Well, comedy is based on tragedy,
This is true.
right? I mean, all comedy, it's like you think about what these comedians are talking about, it's always like stuff like, that's messed up.
Right, because the brain will do whatever it needs to protect itself from harm. And so my brain is like, man, what's harmful out here right now, right? What's perceived but what's real? And that's the other thing that polyvagal theory talks about, perceived and real threats.
Right.
So it's very fascinating what the brain does to protect itself.
Yeah, and I think, some call it flexible thinking, like your ability to pause, step out of yourself and evaluate and see what's going on there. Why is it that you think, because I don't think a lot of people do that. I think that the cycles that we're in, I think, like you said, the autopilot, the subconscious just runs our life. So when something happens, we might not like our reaction, but we just go with it because the system has been programmed to do that. How do you, where would you tell people to start that maybe they're listening and they're frustrated, they've got that teens that are driving them crazy, or they got somebody at work that's just on their last nerve, and they're listening and they're seeing some of these things in themselves, but they're not sure where to start. How do they start to become self-aware enough to recognize and identify? Where does that process begin?
I would say the first thing that one should do, and I've said this throughout today's conversation, is pause. Then ask yourself, have I been here before? It doesn't have to be an identical situation. It can be similar in nature. And if you have, what tools did I use in the past to help me? Because those tools are either still there or they have sharpened to work better for you in this moment. We tend to forget the trail of receipts that we have in the past. And I encourage my clients to look at that trail of receipts. Adjust your rearview mirror real quick. You ain't got to stay there, but just for reference, right? Look at the war chest you have right here and pull out the tools that you need to address the thing that's in front of you, because we tend to forget how awesome we are. And so the first thing to do is pause. The second thing to do is to look at your receipt Rolodex. Pull out what you need out of that war chest and move accordingly.
Yeah, it's good. This is, we're excited. We have been working on an app for a long time, and it's available, but we're really promoting it in this back to school season. We're going to start a campaign back to school for schools and educators and parents to get in there. But the whole point of the app is, if we can help parents do what we're talking about, when parents can live up a little higher and just have that flexible thinking, like they're like, okay, I want to knock this kid into next week right now, and they need to be disciplined, but am I at my best right now? Where am I on that ladder? And am I equipped? Like, is this, am I doing the right thing?
Right.
Instead of just that response or that reactive mode. But that parent app is going to be such a great tool for parents to have one conversation. And ultimately, we believe, like for me, I have a senior, and I have like 52 weeks or so left, 53 weeks maybe left with him before he's probably gone, depending on where he goes to college. So like, how many meaningful conversations about life? Like, he is getting ready to soar, right? And is he prepared to soar? How many conversations do I have left with him about life? And I don't say that to put pressure on people. I'm just being honest with my own fate. Like, I'm about done with this chapter of parenting. My kids are grown just about. So this app is meant to be a tool for parents of, adolescents and preteens and teens to just start to be intentional. If you could turn back, like, think about how many conversations you could have with your kids if you just had one conversation a week. That's what that app, there's lessons and content in there that have a 20-minute conversation that really giving parents the steering wheel back, right? Because so many parents I talk to feel like they're out of control. Their teens are now driving and they're all over, like, I've lost control. And it's like, you can still have a conversation a week with them and we'll lob it up for you.
And you know what? So I think that's awesome that resource is available to parents, because what they do impacts this and next generations and generations to come, right? And one thing that is so important to know as a parent, it's not so much about how many, but the quality of that conversation. But also, you can have a nonverbal conversation, how you lead your life. Because actions speak louder than words, right? We talk about Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, but there's another gospel, and that's how you live your life.
That's right.
And so what are some things that parents can do that communicates the lessons that they want their child or their children to walk away from, right? And how to effectively transition from parent to mentor, to ally, to coach, because the Bible talks about train a child in the way they should go, because they will go. And sometimes there are some parents who have a hard time letting go. But trust that you've done all that you needed to do, and that those seeds have been watered over time and will produce great fruit. But it's about the quality of the conversation and also the quality of how you are leading your life that speak to them louder than any words you can say.
Truth. Yeah. That modeling, that living, that lifestyle, they're watching. Our kids are always watching. They're so smart.
Very.
They act like they're not paying attention.
They all in your
They
business.
act like they don't care, but they are locked in.
They all in the biz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. I'll just randomly, sometimes they'll be like, my boys will be in the other room, and I'll just randomly, like, I'm trying to talk to them and they act like they're not listening. And then I'll just say, like, ice cream or something like they're interested in. And all of a sudden, like, what?
Exactly.
Like,
Or don't start talking quiet. What'd you say? Yeah. I wasn't even talking to you.
Yes.
Right?
It's so funny. All right. We're going to take one more break and come back here in a moment. But at the break, I really want to encourage you. We talked a little bit about our 5-Star Life Parent app, and it is an awesome resource. You can go to the Google Play Store, go to the Apple Store, and it's just 5-Star Life app, parent app. You can check that out. Download it. There's a free version, so it doesn't cost you anything. And then there's like a premium version that's almost free. It's like $4.99, so it's almost free. And there's like a parent series in there called Breakthrough in Parenting that basically I break down everything I know. Like, I have 3 sons, and in that series I share the highs and lows of parenting, but ultimately partnered my parenting just with working with kids for the last 25 years, teenagers specifically. It's intense, and it's a great resource. I hope you check it out. We'll be right back after this. The 5-Star Life Parent app. Each lesson includes a short video and simple discussion prompts designed to help families reconnect and start talking again. Because when parents lead the conversation, kids grow stronger. Download the 5-Star Life Parent app today and start your first family conversation this week, transforming kids' lives by challenging the way they think, act, and lead. Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show, our last segment with Cherri Kulp, the one and only. And thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Hey, in this last segment, you're preparing to do a seminar workshop on something to do with imposter syndrome or imposter something.
Yes. So we all know the term imposter syndrome, which is more of a term that is used throughout culture, but it's actually imposter phenomenon. Syndrome is something that you have to be diagnosed with, So the term imposter phenomenon is more of a clinical term, if you will.
So it's like if you go in and they check you and test you, then you have it. But before that, it's just a phenomenon.
Yeah, but
gotcha.
A lot of people don't even go to that link to get diagnosed. Right. But it's kind of like people say, "Oh, I got OCD," and you haven't seen anybody about it. You just like to be neat. So it's again,
they got OCP. Yeah,
right.
Okay. You down with OCP? That song with that?
Throwback, y'all. Throwback. Rewind. But yeah,
rap music, Cherri.
Listen, it's everywhere. but but yes, imposter phenomenon, and it is a subject and a situation that plagues a lot of leaders. And I am intimately familiar with it because I am a survivor, now thriver, of imposter phenomenon. And my first introduction to being aware of it when I was working in the mayor's office, and I was surrounded by individuals who went to Yale, Harvard, came from money, and here I am, grew up in poverty, parents were former addicts. At the time, yeah, they were former addicts, and high adverse childhood experience score. What am I even doing here? In spite of the fact that I graduated top 15% of my class at DePaul University when I was pursuing my master's degree. None of that mattered. I just kept thinking I wasn't enough. I don't belong here. And I was wondering, what is this even about?
Yeah.
And I remember I had a conversation with my aunt who grew up a sharecropper. And she went to school in the evening, ended up becoming a computer programmer for Deloitte, and traveled all over the world doing that work. And she is like, I am a fan of hers. And she's not only an aunt, but a mentor and been a mother to me. And she said to me, do not forget the skills that you have gained in your life that has positioned you to be in this role. You got street smarts.
That's right.
Right? And I'm like, oh, you right? But those moments of doubt continue to come in and out. And it was at a point where I had to stop and address it because it was getting in the way of me doing my job, which was there to serve my community. And so doing that work and really doing some research, because again, I'm a researcher, I came across the term. So being that I'm on the other side, I can hear it and see it in other leaders. And when a leader is impacted by imposter phenomenon, not only are they suffering, but their team is suffering. The culture within the organization is suffering. And the bottom line, the dollars, is also going to suffer because they're not going to pursue things that could allow them to grow in their career. They will position themselves to not challenge themselves, or they will be very controlling, or they will burn themselves out because they feel like they have to keep proving. And that's exhausting. And again, I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah.
And it is something that it is like this secret because there's this thing called shame that is attached to it.
What's the shame? And can you break down, just for somebody that has never heard of imposter phenomenon, what exactly is it?
So what is imposter phenomenon or the shame?
Imposter phenomenon first.
Yes. So imposter phenomenon is believing that you do not deserve to be in the position that you're in, regardless of the accolades, the credentials that you have. You still believe you didn't, like you got there by luck, or you don't believe you belong there. And it's constantly plaguing in your brain and how you think about yourself. And so it leads to a lot of things that can ultimately lead to burnout or keeping one stuck in the current position they're in. And I've talked to employers who see potential in their staff, but the staff doesn't want to apply for that position, or they don't want to take the lead on a project, but their manager sees the potential, but there's the staff person is stuck. So that's the definition of an imposter phenomenon. The shame is usually from whatever situation got them to believing that way about themselves. So if someone was neglected, if someone was abused or was being told all the time that you're not good enough, or often compared as a child to something, or even social media, which is great. If people can't see my face, I did a little insert eye roll. But when people compare themselves to others, especially when those photos or images are heavily doctored, it creates this narrative.
They're not real.
Right. You ain't on no beach, you in your backyard.
Not real.
So it creates this narrative. And so a lot of leaders are leading from that space. So that's where the shame comes from. The shame comes from whatever that beginning, that event, that conversation that triggered a thought in their mind that continued. Oops.
So imposter phenomenon. So you're going to lead a seminar. How many? Do you have any clue? Like, is this a small problem? Is there a lot of this out there? Is it? I'm just curious how widespread this is.
What's interesting is that this imposter phenomenon was first discovered and studied in the 80s. And the research focus was on women in positions of influence and power and leadership positions.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's where it started.
Yeah. So, but the more research is coming out looking at different groups,
Sure.
looking at men, looking at individuals of color, looking at students, and looking at different industries. So, like I said earlier, it's more of a secret, this hidden thing that no one's really talking about because people are afraid to share. Again, that shame. Shame creates secrets.
Sure.
And when people are not able to open up and say, me too, it's hard to have that conversation. That's why I'm open about, I know where you are.
Yeah.
I've been there. I hear you. I feel you. But I also know what's on the other side.
Yeah.
Shall we take a look?
And if I can do it, so can you. Yeah. So, I mean, everybody deals with insecurity.
Yes.
So imposter phenomena is not just insecurity. What's the difference? Because as you're talking, I'm thinking, well, I mean, I've been in so many rooms. I'm like, I don't belong here, but here I am, and but I'm strangely comfortable with it. I don't know. So I'm like in these rooms where I'm like, I don't belong here, and then when I walk, I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to be there. Like, yeah, God put me there, and yeah, so it's not that necessarily.
No, because it's like someone can have insecurity but not have imposter phenomenon. But someone can have imposter phenomenon and have insecurity.
Okay.
That makes sense. And so with insecurity, it's not, from my understanding thus far, it is not something that cripples you with fear, preventing you from doing something great. It's not where you have this anxiety, and sometimes it looks like procrastination as well, because of the fear of failure.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so layered, and it's such an amazing, I don't say amazing meaning great, but interesting subject.
Is this happening subconsciously, or are they consciously aware of what's going on?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's both, but from what I gather from the research, it's more conscious.
Okay.
Where, say for instance, I'm given an opportunity to lead a project. The first thing I say, I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do this. I don't have what it takes. And,
Got it.
I might fail. And if I fail, everyone's going to look at me like a failure. And I want to look at like a failure because when I was 9, insert experience.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I don't think I have imposter syndrome then. I'm just, or a phenomenon.
Now, what's interesting is that the researcher that coined it, Dr. Clarice, pardon me if I did not say the name correctly, she created this test that one can take, and it's a series of questions, and it's a rating scale, and then at the end of the number, you can find out where you are.
Sure. So it's a spectrum,
it
like
is.
all things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a spectrum, right? And so one can find out that way, but there's so many different ways that it shows up that it's just very interesting. I would just say it's very interesting, and it is prevalent.
Yeah.
It's some people hide it very well. I hid it very well because I had to, because I had a public-facing position.
Right.
I couldn't show that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I think for me, I am comfortable in rooms where I'm like, I've never been here before. These people all have different degrees and different experience, and I'm whatever. So it's like, I think I'm self-aware of knowing the reality of the room. But I think I'm comfortable embracing it and just like, okay, what's my role here? And then carrying that out. Right. And I think it sounds like the imposter thing is like, it's almost self-sabotaging. Like, no, I'm going to try to find a way to hide in this room or not be a part of this room or not go there. Is that it or not?
It can be.
Okay.
It can be. And again, there are people, like I said, I hid it very well because I knew the fork of the road meant if I stayed here, my community, the residents of South Bend, were not going to get what they needed from the government. So I had to choose. Earlier in the conversation, we said, choose ye this day. It's always a choice. And so that choice of not connecting the community with the resources or connecting the administration to serve the community through the capacity, through the portfolio that I led, was that decision maker for me.
Yeah.
Right. But some people, again, it's how you look at things.
Yeah.
It's how you look at things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we might all have might have moments of imposter syndrome that we are held back.
Moments of, yeah.
But then we make a choice.
We make, yeah.
Like, I'm not going to let that hold me back.
Right.
Now I'm aware of it. Now I can be aware next time that I'm not going to let that get me.
And a lot of times, a lot of the decision is based off of the amount of tools or the effectiveness of the tools that you're using. So there are a lot of tools and that have been studied over time that help people. And again, we talked earlier about the rewiring of the brain, reframing and things of that nature. But there's also other things that one can do to help better position them to move forward and move past that crippling fear, that anxiety, that need to procrastinate or that need to overwork to prove, right? So whenever that need for me, that I can't, wanted to prove, like, who am I proving this to and why?
Yeah.
That's why I always stay curious.
That's good. I love it. All right. We're about out of time. Thank you so much for taking time to share your time and your wisdom and what you're learning, what you're teaching others. And one more time, your website or email, where can people find you?
Yes, you can take a look at my website at internalgardencoaching.com.
Awesome. And for those listening, thanks for tuning in. Again, you can watch this at YouTube at the 5 Star Life or yourhometv.com. You can listen to this anywhere podcasts are streamed. And in the meantime, like, if you've been listening for a while and you've never gotten connected, either through becoming a donor, volunteering, or introducing 5 Star to a school near you, now's the time. It's getting ready for back to school. Encourage you to be a part of this thing. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week, same time, same place.